Wairarapa's red clay tennis currently stands one love against all other tennis courts, with the first red clay tennis courts in New Zealand.
Clay's considered the best surface for development, and I wanted to do something a little bit different. I've been coaching for about 15 years, and I was trying to come up with something a little different. And I struck on the idea of building some clay and found a section, and we decided to go for it.
Using red clay imported all the way from Italy, construction is underway to create 2 European club-style courts in the heart of Martinborough.
Well, clay bounces, the ball bounces high and slow, so then the rallies are longer, and you have to play better points to win the point. And then that's going to also develop your athleticism with it being a little bit slippery, your endurance with the longer points. The ball grips a little more on the surface, so you're encouraged to spin the ball more. So really there's lots of little things that add up when you spend more time on the surface to help make you a better player.
Altogether, 83 tonnes of Italian red clay were imported for the build, followed by 3,000 tonnes of river stones and 2,500 cubic metres of ground dug up. All up, these private tennis courts will cost around $750,000 to build. Red clay courts will give New Zealand's aspiring tennis champions an advantage in their training.
The idea here is that we're going to open it up to players from around the country, so they could come up here with their coach or they could work with us. And previously they had to go overseas to get experience on clay. So we're looking to give them a chance to experience that here, but also when they go overseas to play on clay, they could start their training block in New Zealand, and it would be a little bit cheaper that way before they head off to clay court events overseas.
Jacob and his partner Teresa bought the section as an empty paddock back in 2020. Since then, they have built 2 houses on the site and began the tennis courts 6 months ago.
So this is going to be a training centre. So we're not looking to replace local clubs. There's a Martinborough tennis club, and we're working with them and all the clubs around the region. So the idea here is that players would come in and do training blocks, whether it's just for the weekend or for a week or even longer. So I haven't thought about how many we can cater to, say, over a year, but we could have half a dozen to a dozen players in here at any one time. So, I mean, potentially, a few hundred over the year. One thing that's important to me, though, is also working with all the local players. So I'm here with a team of coaches, and we're working throughout the region with all the clubs and the association. So we really want to develop some great tennis players out of the region in the Wairarapa here as well. So that's sort of a big part of what we're doing, as well as bringing players in from around the country.
Most developed countries have clay tennis courts for young players to train on, but despite various attempts, New Zealand does not. Jacob hopes Pacific Island nations can also benefit by sending rising stars to train in New Zealand first.
Historically, New Zealand was strong. I mean, we had a good tennis culture, but the last, say, 50 years, the Europeans have taken over. New Zealand, we have some great young players at the moment. We have some players doing really well on the doubles circuit. I mean, we have a Grand Slam champion right now who won on clay at the French Open. So we have some great individuals, but we're looking to build the player stocks all round.
Red Clay Tennis hopes to complete construction of the courts by the end of November. Ellie Franco, Local Focus.